Hey guys, this is Chris, the Lower Slower Board Gamer, and we are going to bring you my post turn 1 video for Mr. President by GMT Games. Game just released a month ago. And a lot of guys are champing at the bit, playing it, showing it off and everything. And I got turn 1 play in, and I thought I would give my review for the game. Corrections on some of the gameplay I did, and also some final thoughts. But again, this is for Mr. President by GMT Games. And man, this game is fantastic. It really is. I so love a game. And then, of course, fix one little thing. Also, don't forget to check out my video 29 June of 23 and find out how to win a copy of this game for yourself. I got a second copy, and I am going to be giving it away in a drawing once we reach 1,200 subs. Or if that seems to be long and going, sometime probably in early September. I'm not going to let it drag on too long, but I want to try to get a couple of subs wrapped up. You know what I mean. Let's go in reverse order. Kind of. Corrections. Crisis chits. I was doing some of those quite handily wrong. For instance, if I would get a crisis chit that said to draw crisis cards, and it had a little 2 in the upper corner. I don't have one handy right at the moment. No, here we go. A cascading event. So I'm going to hold that up. Cascading Event 2. I was drawing 2 spare Cascading Event cards from the unused deck. You're supposed to be drawing Cascading Events from the Year 2 deck, from the number 2 deck, which, for cleanup at the end of video 5, I didn't see any instructions for it, so I decided to put it in with the Crisis deck. No, don't do anything that it says not to do, because later on in the game there's a reason for it to be there. A lot of things took a while to get, but again, the number one piece of advice: read every word on the cards and in the book. And if I had done that, I'd have done the crisis chits correctly. So don't do as I do, do as I say. But if you really go slow, another one that I want to point out for first time players, and it's one of the first things you do, and when one of the world peers acts, the very first thing in the activation phase, and I want to get it out and I want to read it to you, because it didn't make any sense to me until the second time around, when it occurred to me what was going on. We'll just use Russia for an example. WPR booklet. And we're going to go to page 4, section G, dependent actions. Number 2, quell rising internal dissent. Roll a d10, adding 1 if Russia is at posture 2. If the die 10 roll is 1 to 4, then use 1 Russia action to allocate resources to human and financial capital needed to address political, social, and infrastructure costs. Kremlin's hold on power, strengthening it, war on corruption, stuff like that. And if you read to the very end, in effect, Russia loses an action that could have been used elsewhere. Didn't read that. And then 5+, no effect. So I'm like, well, how do you do this? What do you do? There's nothing on the board that said anything about rising internal dissent or quell. But if I had gotten down to the bottom of that section and I had decided to read, in effect, Russia loses an action that could have been used elsewhere, 5+, no effect, the step doesn't cost an action, so it's not as drastic. So the very thing that I did not read was the very thing that caused confusion with that step. And that hung me up for a good 5-10 minutes or so. Read all the words. Direct quote from Mike Berticelli, game developer. read all the words slowly, because they laid it out step by step for you to play it. And that's going to get into my review. This is a big game, as you are going to be able to see when I do this. Spiral. This is the whole, look, that TV is 36 inches wide. That TV I use for a monitor. See how much of the table that covers? Right there is a straight line to the edge of it. And then there's that much more to go. And then you've got a place for your books. You've got your counter holder, which actually I put over here on this side. It takes a lot of space. And there's a lot of stuff here. One of my my pros and cons go hand in hand. My con is, for those of you who don't have the room, this takes up a lot of space. It is going to completely inundate your dining room table. And you're going to really need to put a card table up next to you to have other things handy, or else you're going to be standing up to do some of these actions, to be moving counters in certain places. So you need to be prepared for the footprint. Just the game boards themselves are 2 feet by 5 feet. They're huge. That being said, the pro for that is there is so much to do. I mean, you are trying to advance strategic capabilities, trying to keep an eye on possible conflicts, working on relations with various things, trying to pass legislation and garner favor in Congress and foster bipartisan cooperation. You've got your cabinet. You are trying to keep them effective and increase relations with your own party so they support you more. You have all of these world regions where you have to maintain alignment and stability and keep your allies very close so that way actions with them are more effective. And you've got terror groups and Russian and Chinese influence everywhere. And where do you put your focused national intel collection counters to make actions against terror groups more prevalent, and trying to keep Russian and Chinese influence down? All the while trying to help keep your public approval up, trying to know when to spend your activation points, your action points. There's a lot in this game. And for those of you who like a lot in the game, that's the pro. This is a get it out and set it up and leave it and come back to it repeatedly and often. For those who don't have a dedicated space like this and you've got to do it on the dining room table, I mean, it might take you about an hour or so to set up a game, and you're only going to get through the first turn. It's going to take a long time. Learning how to do it, reading all the words so you go where you need to go and you do what you need to do. You really need to have a few hours blocked out where you're not going to be interrupted, A, with things to do, and B, with need for table space. So that way you can set it up. You can get a lot of play in. And then take good pictures of small parts of the board. So that way when you get it out the next time, you can set it up exactly the way it was. So the size and scope of this game, a little bit of a con, but a whole lot of a pro. There is so much to this. The components, definitely a pro. The counters are thick. They punch out of the punch sheets very easily. Rounded corners. I have very few tags on the 650 counters I punched, maybe 20. They're cut very well. The cards are very thick stock, so they're difficult to shuffle. Not impossible to shuffle, just do small parts of it at a time. If you can sleeve the cards, it wouldn't be a bad idea. You know, the cards are going to be kept in better shape and everything. Not so much for protecting the cards, because I've got some games and I shuffle the cards because I've grown up playing card games. I love to shuffle cards. Beautiful artwork on the game boards and on the maps and everything. It's a very nice production. It really is. I think it is fantastic. More review. It is a big 4-inch box that this comes in. And to be quite honest, they probably could have added another box. As far as storage of game components, I was using little plastic trays. I'm going to go with the counter sheets, 4x5, little pockets, plastic cover, and separate them that way. And you can fit 2 of them, taking out the divider out of the bottom of the box, keep it or whatever. But as far as playing the game, if you have those counters, you'll need a little extra space for the cards, but it'll pretty much go back in the box the way it was. I just had something else in my mind that I wanted to mention. It does come with dice. You don't have to worry about that. There was something else, but of course then it went spiral. It comes with all the different books, and the books are labeled. And when you need to go to the books with the turn sequence flip book, or going to certain spaces on the board, it tells you which chart to go to, and it's easy to find. It's very easy to know where you need to go in order to find out what you need to do to enact that activation segment. Do what you need to do. Also, the biggest thing here, the 2 biggest takeaways here are read everything, read all the words, and have your counters organized, because it's going to speed up your setup and your breakdown. And you really want to have 7 things to put chits in. I only have 6 of these, and I'm sure I've got 1 or 2 more downstairs, and I'm going to find it. These little Pringle potato chips, single serving size things. They work perfectly, and they sit just like this. So you have 1 pile of these sitting on the side of the game board, and then you just shuffle through until you get to the one that you're going to need, and then you go ahead and draw whatever counter you need out of that, and then just set them back to the side again. Little things like that to help organize and make components easy to get to. This is a fantastic game. Final thoughts. Man. Game designer Gene Billingsley, co-founder of GMT Games, said that 9 years ago, he floated this idea. People were like, who would be interested in a game like this? I'm so glad he decided to make this game. He is quoted as saying, this game is the game that he always wanted to design. If you can think of that one thing that you've always wanted to do, and to perfection, and to finally be able to achieve that, I'm going to say he did it. I'm going to say he did it. It's well laid out. And once you go through a few activation segments, go through a couple of activation phases, and things become, oh, well, I've done something similar to this. This seems familiar. And it really becomes intuitive. It's a fantastic game. I love it. I enjoy it. I am so glad that, and really, I hadn't heard anything about it until about a year ago or so. Tony's Board Life. Check his channel out. Fantastic channel. Part of the War Room with ID Jester and Rough Swordsman Wargamer on Saturday afternoons at 4 p.m. Eastern on ID Jester's channel. And Tony got Mike Berticelli, game designer, to join him while he did the tabletop simulator version of the game, and got his butt kicked by dice. And I have found that thus far, and I'm jinxing the whole thing, my die rolling this second year has been stellar so far. It really has. It's not going to last forever, mathematics and all. But watching him do this, and part way into the first part, I jumped in, I'm watching it. I pre-ordered this game. And then shortly after doing so, I pre-ordered a second copy. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it at first. Keep an extra copy because I knew I was going to like this game this much. My top 50 games that I did over on ID Jester's channel with him, Higher Ground Gaming and Phoenix Knight, I mentioned this as an honorable mention in replacement for number 50 because I knew I was going to like this game so much. I had such high hopes for it, such anticipation. I was ready for a game like this. And they did not disappoint. Gene, Mike, Donald, Terry, the entire team. This game means so much to me. It really does. I'm so thankful that you made it. I'm so thankful that I had the foresight to realize that this was something I'd been looking for and I was going to enjoy it. And I'm glad that I ordered it. Thank you. Blurry face. Gah. Jeez. Yeah, blurry, whatever, I don't care. Yeah, blurry because I'm crying, but no, thank you very much. Fantastic. I love this game so much, immensely. As you can tell by my gushing, I don't owe GMT anything. GMT doesn't owe me anything, but I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys, offer you my 2 cents. So that is Mr. President, GMT Games review, corrections to my gameplay, and some final thoughts. And also another reminder to check out my June 23 video to find out how to win a copy of this awesome game. Guys, thank you very much for watching the series of my gameplay setup and gameplay through the sandbox scenario for the entire first turn. Turned out better than I thought it would, and I'm continuing to play it offline so that way I can really sink into it and enjoy it without having to do videos while I'm doing it. And so far, man, this game is great. It is. Thank you very much for watching. This is Chris, the Lower Slower Board Gamer, and don't forget to check out that video down there. And it's a short video. There are instructions, and I want to give you a copy of this game. So sign up for it if this interests you. Go ahead and watch my playthroughs. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, down the doobly-doo with a timestamp. That way I can talk with you and I know exactly what you're talking about. So that way we can square up anything that's going on. I'm by no means an expert of this game. But once you've gone through a turn, you kind of really get the hang of it. So I can answer questions for someone who is just getting started. More than happy to. Guys, thanks again for watching. This is Chris. Keep on rolling. Smile, darn you, smile.